Okay, welcome everybody to the Mastering the IAC Abstract event that we are hosting here for you today. This event is presented to you by the IAF Public Speaking and Presentation Skills Lab. And our two speakers today will be Carol Cornett and Scott Madry. Carol is a global faculty member and English programs lead at the International Space University. And Scott is a professor emeritus at ISU and a research associate professor at UNC Chapel Hill and a corresponding member of the IAA. So my name is Patrick Hamblok. I'm the chair of the Workforce Development and Young Professional Program Committee. And I have the honor to open this event for you and just briefly go through the agenda here. So this is mainly just a summary of what's going on to submit your abstract, and then a couple of tips and tricks on how you submit a winning abstract for the IAC this year. So we're going to go through the timeline, details on abstracts, what needs to be included, and the writing of winning abstracts tips that you should really take into account, and then also mentioning the mentorship program. So this event is hosted by the Public Speaking Lab, which was created in 2019. And actually, we had, I'm sure all of you have seen the previous events that we had under the umbrella of the WDYPP committee and our separate channel, where we had hosted a couple events before, like this one. In our committee, we are the focal point for young professional activities at the IAF. So we're an administrative committee. So we're essentially here for making all kinds of different events and programs for the young professionals, mainly at the International Astronautical Congress, but also for a number of years now throughout the year, may mostly be online and at some other IAF events. So that for who we are, and now I actually turn it over to Carol and Scott. Take us away.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Before I forget, if you have any questions through this throughout this event, feel free to post them. Use Slido. I think there's a link under this event. Or if not, go to the Slido website, slide.do, and type in IAF PS Lab as your keyword, and post your questions there, and we get to them at the end of the event.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Patrick, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Scott Madry, and I'm very happy to be presenting this webinar along with Carol. And again, this webinar is to help guide you through the process of successfully submitting your abstract for the upcoming IAC in Paris this September. And we'll mention it again at the end, but this is the first of several webinars that we will do to help guide you through the process of successfully getting your paper and presentation included in the upcoming Congress in Paris. So just a little bit of background, and we used Slido. So please do get on Slido, as Patrick just said, and submit any questions or comments that you have there. And we've used Slido in the past for last year's Congress to get some information about who are the people who are submitting papers, who is the community around the world, the space community who is involved in this. And so for last year's Congress in Dubai, over 3,300 abstracts were submitted. That's a lot of abstracts into 182 technical sessions by people literally from all the countries all around the world. And so now the process begins again for the 2022 Congress to be held in Paris. And the process starts by your submitting successfully an abstract, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So you'll write and submit your abstract. We have a spring meeting coming up in Paris where the chairs of all the sessions will get together, will review all of these, decide which abstracts are to be accepted, and then hopefully you'll be one of the lucky ones who will have your abstract accepted, and then you will write your paper, you'll submit your paper, and then you'll have the opportunity to give your live presentation in Paris in September. So here's some interesting SlidePoll data that we did last year for Dubai, just to give you a sense of who was making their applications last year. And as you can see, a very large number of people this was their first time that they had an IAC paper accepted, 60%, and also that 3 out of 4 English was not their native language. So we have a very international, interdisciplinary, intercultural community from around the world. And so here again, some more information about who submitted last year. And we asked some questions about, are you comfortable with your presentation skills? Are you comfortable with your PowerPoint skills and a video? Again, you have an option to submit a short video along with your paper this year. And we will have webinars coming up, leading up to September on all of these various aspects. But today, it's all about the abstract. You have to get that abstract in first. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get straight to the timeline. The most important thing is you must submit your abstract electronically on the IAF website by 28 February at midnight Paris time. So remember, these times are all from Paris. And so your deadline is 28 February. Now, I will say in the past, they have sometimes given an extension, but don't count on that. Assume that you have until 28 February to get your abstract submitted. And please don't wait until the last minute. If you wait until 23:50 Paris time on the 28th of February, you may find out that the server is overloaded and is not going to be able to take your abstract. So please give yourself a little bit of leeway, give yourself some time. Don't wait until the last second, but make sure you put this deadline date of 28 February in your calendar. Now, you will then, after our spring meetings, be informed if your paper was selected. If it is, you then have until the 2nd of October to submit your finished paper. And please remember that you must submit your full paper or you cannot present at the IAC. No paper, no podium. So if you have your abstract accepted and you do not submit your paper, you will not be able to give your talk. And I'll turn it over to Carol, and Carol will tell you about the various different topics.
Okay, as you can see here, there are several symposia at the IAC: Science, Applications, Tech, Infrastructure, and Space and Society, which covers a lot of things, including education. And of course, there is a separate category for the International Institute of Space Law. And so you have these different categories. Within the categories, there are several sessions. For example, in the E category, which is for education, there are 8 different sessions. So it's important for you, when you're selecting which of these you're going to submit to, that you also look at those different sessions, because when we go to the spring meetings, we will be looking at the papers submitted and trying to figure out which session they belong to. So you can only submit to one, but if for some reason that one is either not appropriate or there are many, many papers, the people who select also try to look at a good abstract and see if they can find another session within that symposium to place them. So look at these and also look at the subsessions under each category. Now, your paper can be submitted for oral or interactive. They're both treated equally and they have equal importance. But it's a different scenario because for the interactive presentations, you're not necessarily in the same venue. Your abstract has to be in English. It can't be longer than 400 words. And you need to know that you don't have to use up 400 words. If you can give all of your main points in your abstract in less than that, then you can do it. So don't use long sentences. Keep your language clear and sentences short, and just hit the high parts of your full paper. So you can't include any graphics, anything at all. This is a straight 400 or less word paragraph explaining your presentation. Scott?
And it's very important that limit on words is firm and fixed. If you try to submit more words, the electronic system will simply cut off the last part and only submit those 400 words. So the way you actually submit your abstract is to go to the website, the IAF Astro website, and navigate your way through the website. Now, if this is the first time you have ever submitted a paper for the IAF, you will need to register on the website. And you can see on the screen here what this looks like. You have to have a username. It's typical, just like everything else. You put in a username and a password. And you have to create a username and password in order to use the system. If you have submitted a paper before or have attended an IAC event in the past and you have a username and password, you can just use that. And just like all electronic websites today, if you forgot your password, which happens all the time, you can just click on the little forgot password, you put in your username or your email, and it will send you a new one. So once you successfully sign in, what you do is there will be a very prominent new abstract page. And so you go there, and this is a very, very key thing. You go to the new abstract page, and you have to pick the symposium and technical session that you want your paper to attend. And you can only submit your abstract to one technical session. Now, as Carol just said, the people who review all of these things do have some leeway, and they can say, well, I have this really good paper, but it doesn't fit here, and they can submit it to one of their colleagues. But this is a very important choice. You can only submit your abstract to one technical session. And so you need to look through, spend a little bit of time, look through all of the technical sessions and choose carefully. And the list of the technical sessions is available. Here's the web link. It's also on the IAF Astro website. And so it will show you, and here I did just a little bit of it as an example. So here on the right, it says Congress IAC 2022. And here are the symposia starting with A1 through A7 and then B1 and on and on and on. So there are lots of these, and you need to go through and decide which one of these symposia fits your abstract and paper the best. You can only submit to one, and you cannot submit it to multiple ones. Now, if you have co-authors, their names and contact information will be included when you submit your paper, but they don't have to be included when you submit your abstract. So it's only you as the primary author submitting the abstract, and you will add your co-authors later in the process when you submit your full paper. So I'll turn it back over to Carol, and she'll tell you about what makes a really good abstract.
Okay, as I said before, communicating clearly is the goal, and be brief. That means no long sentences. And what you really want this document to be is a short description of your paper and your methods and your results that could stand alone. It summarizes the important things. So don't get bogged down in the details. Find your important points and be sure those are in here, because the people who are reading your papers have been doing this for a very long time, and they have a lot of abstracts to go through. So the way you put your abstract together and the more clearly you can communicate, the better chance you have of having your abstract accepted. Now, they also have a mentor program that is new. The deadline is February 5th. That's not a lot of time. But if you go to this link, you can read about this program. It is a fairly new program, and it's very good for people who have been wanting to do this for a long time, and this is their first time. So go ahead, if you think you would like to join this, read about it and apply. The numbers are limited, but it's very much worth the effort. And I'll turn it back to Scott.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. It's a great program. People who have a lot of experience in the IAC are volunteering their time to help you successfully navigate this process. And so I would urge you also to try to take advantage of that program. So that's really about all there is. You have a fixed deadline, you have a fixed length, you have to submit it to one technical session, and then it's up to the session chairs. They'll go through, and you will be contacted after the spring meeting in March to let you know if it has been accepted. And we will have another webinar coming up after that on how to actually write your paper. But right now, this is all about submitting the abstract. So we have a lot of time left over, and what we would like to do is answer any questions that you all may have, and you can submit your questions on Slido. And so we'll ask Patrick to see if we have any questions that have come in.
Yeah, we actually do have a bunch. So you can also go in there, by the way, and add your support to several questions, and we'll go up the ladder. So if we get more questions in, that makes sure that your question that you are interested in actually get addressed here. But let me maybe summarize one or two points here before, as already Scott and Carol just summarized the process on how to get an abstract submitted. And the key here is really that you understand that there is no algorithm behind all of this, and there is no ranking that will automatically take place. It's basically a big number of people essentially that will read through these abstracts, and you have to be careful, like Scott said, to where you're submitting this. So essentially, there will be somebody sitting there reading it, and the essence is, if you're targeting this correctly, so you have to write a session and you write an interesting abstract, then this will increase your chances. But now let's go to actual questions here. So the first question for both of you is, what is the difference between an abstract and an introduction?
I think depending on what kind of a paper you're writing, there are similarities, of course, between your introduction in a general essay and your abstract. But I think for the IAF, the abstract probably contains a little more detail than you might do in just a regular introduction. In the United States, we have a saying from a cartoon called Popeye, and you say, first you tell them what you're going to tell them. Then the main part, your paper, you tell them, and then your conclusion, you tell them what you told them. So your abstract is like a very small tell them, and you don't have to go so far, but it is just important that you get your main points into the abstract within that number of words. So they are similar, but if you can go to the abstract website, you can see some sample abstracts, and probably we should include a link for that. I didn't think of it until you asked that question, so thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I agree completely with what Carol said. The abstract has to be a complete stand-alone description of your paper. So an introduction can be introductory material referring to the literature, talking about other things, laying a foundation for the remainder of your paper. But the abstract has to be a separate, complete, standalone description of the work that you are presenting. And so oftentimes in the scientific literature, people will not have a whole lot of time and will just read the abstract. And so you want to write your abstract in such a way that someone who's reading it will actually have a very good idea of, get the sense, the important aspect of what it is that this paper is about, so they can decide if they want to read that paper or not. So your abstract has to be a completely stand-alone document. And I would also add one other thing that I think we maybe should have added before, is that your abstract must be in English. And if you are a non-native English speaker, it's very important that you should get a native English speaker to review it before you submit. So all your abstract submissions for the Congress must be in English. And if you're not a native English speaker, it's a very good idea to have someone review it just to make sure that your text is appropriately written.
Okay, thank you. So the next question here is, should I repeat words from the abstract as keywords?
Sure, you can include some of the words in your abstract as keywords. Keywords you should think of are just like sort of if you have a computer algorithm and somebody wants to search for hyperspectral imager or legal ramifications or something. So keywords are just that. They're very brief keywords that, think of it as a computer search algorithm. If you wanted to search all of the papers in the archive that talk about imaging of Mars, then that's something you would put in your keywords. You can repeat words in your abstract in the keywords, but they're really two different things. The abstract is the standalone description of your work, and keywords are 4 or 5 most important terms that you could use to search all the thousands of papers for something that has the topics you're working on. Yeah,
and basically goes in the direction that that there is no algorithm really for the selection process. There may be later, if you have written your paper and it's stored somewhere and you want to make it available to more people, then maybe keywords would help in that sense. But for the process that we're talking about here right now, as in getting your abstract selected for the Congress, keywords are not forbidden or anything, but it also probably not help that much. So the next question is there a pathway for more general proposals of current interest to the space community, such as special sessions? So
actually, Patrick, you might want to answer that one. And let me just say that Patrick is very experienced in all of this as a committee chair, and he's served on all aspects of this. So maybe, Patrick, maybe you could answer that best.
Yeah, there's a new format within the IAF that came up a couple of years ago that is essentially addressing maybe the background of this question. So if you are maybe if you can think of something that's not a traditional paper, that's maybe very visual. So there we have had in the recent past games or very elaborate presentations on stage that can be part of the Congress. So if you're thinking of this kind of idea and you want to propose that, there is a special sessions section on the website that you can read about. That's separate from this abstract process. So you have to basically propose a special session. And I'm not right now. I don't know on top of my head what the exact requirements are, but yeah, you should read up on that. And maybe if you're new to the IAC, then I would encourage you to attend the IAC and attend one of those special sessions to get an impression of what they are and maybe propose something in the future. But if you've seen that in the past, then you should definitely go also to the website and read up on how you propose those. But yeah, that's separate from what we're talking about today. So maybe we should consider another event around these kind of new formats. So then the next question here is, what are the golden rules for writing a winning abstract? So can you condense it down to maybe a couple keywords here? So,
clear communication, and as Scott has said, and I said too, it must be a standalone document. So you have to take care when writing it that everything that is important is included briefly and clearly.
Yes, I agree completely. It has to be a very nice, succinct description of what you did and also why that is important. Why is it important? Why is this worth being included? So, but as Patrick has said many times so correctly, there's not an algorithm. It doesn't go into a computer and that spits it out. There's people like us who sit around a table with a big pile of abstracts, and it's a very difficult process, frankly, because we get many excellent papers proposed, but we only have so many slots. And so it really helps if your paper is down the middle of the lane of that technical session. If papers are sort of tangential or off to the side of the session, that makes it harder. But ultimately, there's a group of people sitting around a table sifting through these. So good writing, clear writing, good English, and a clear description of what you did and why it's important is about as good an answer as I can give you.
Yeah, be clear, be concise, and I think maybe most of all, know your audience. So know who you are submitting this to, which in pretty much most cases you can see on the website who is the session chair, who are the rapporteurs. So basically, who are you submitting this abstract to? And maybe if you've selected a session, read up on who is in this session, who is running this session. And then maybe if you have the connection between what you have written and those people, and see if it's in their wheelhouse or if it's something that they may not be as familiar with, and therefore you can make maybe some assumptions on your how much detail you can provide or how much explanations you need to provide to make your subject known.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How can you summarize your conclusion if you haven't written your paper yet?
If you have not written your paper yet, of course, what you need to have been doing, if you haven't already, and you can do this for your abstract, is make an outline of your paper, your introduction, your body paragraphs of the main points you want to make, and your conclusion. make that outline and use that both for your abstract and your paper. So by now, you should have some idea about your conclusion, but this will give you an opportunity to think about firming that up and writing your abstract to include that. So if you haven't already, outline your paper and start thinking about what parts of that belong in your abstract.
Yeah, and the other side of that coin is that the paper you submit must be original work, and it cannot have been submitted or published previously. So your question is about, I'm not through yet, I don't know what the conclusions are, but it's also very important to understand that your paper to be submitted must be original work, must be your work, and it cannot have been previously published.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. Next question is, how can I decide what session my abstract fits best? Often there is an overlap between sessions.
It's hard. It's difficult. And you just have to look at the description of the session, look at, as Patrick said, who the people are who are organizing it, what is their background. Ultimately, you just have to make your best guess, and it's an imperfect process, but it's the best way that we figured out how to do this. But you could ask around, you could send people email, you could even contact one of the organizers and say, hey, I'm thinking of submitting this. You know, it's not forbidden to try to contact some of the people involved in the process, but ultimately you just have to look at all of these technical sessions and pick the one that you think is the most relevant for your work.
You can also go back into previous years and look at what has been submitted to this particular session previously, or to multiple sessions if there's an overlap, and see how your topic fits in with one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a link we could include in the future. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because of course all of this is online, so you can go back and basically look at least at the list of papers, and so it's not a bad idea to just basically do a bit of research, or if you happen to be in a situation where you haven't written your paper yet or haven't concluded your research yet, then you may be in a situation where you have to do that first and submit next year, or or if you attend the Congress and you can just go to all these sessions and then find the right one. But I understand that right now you want to know the best answer, so I think it's best to do a bit of research online on these different sessions, and or talk to the people. What would you recommend if my abstract is not accepted? How do I get feedback from the reviewers?
So that's a great question. And one thing is, I would urge you to take advantage of the mentoring program that's offered up front. I would also urge everyone, if you're thinking about submitting, please do. Because if you're just starting out, if you're young, you're a student, a young professional, you're just beginning, it's okay if you go through this process and it's not accepted, because it helps you. It's a learning experience. You gain experience. I know it's disappointing, but it's really important that you try and you begin. So I would urge everyone, if you're wondering, should I try to do this? Should I not do this? I would urge all of you the answer is yes. Please do submit your abstract. Don't just toss it off. Give it some thought. Think about how you want to do it. Look at other abstracts to get some ideas. And it's all a very useful learning experience for you. Even if your paper is not accepted, you will have improved your skill set just by going through the process. But yes, you do, there is no firm feedback process in this, but you can reach out. The best way is to participate in the mentorship program so that you have a mentor that has seen your work. Then if it's not accepted, you already have a relationship with that mentor, very experienced person, and they can help give you feedback on improvements.
Also, there may not necessarily be a very good reason for why you haven't gotten in. Sometimes it may just be the numbers. There's lots of different sessions at the IAC each year, and some have a lot of abstracts that are submitted to them. And if you have, I don't know, making numbers up now, but if you have 40 abstracts submitted for a session that can have 12 in it, then yeah, I mean, so the people have to make a choice, and then it's sometimes it's how they flow, how they fit together, and how they best fit the subject. So if you think that your abstract fit the session perfectly, it may be that there were 20 others, and then somehow they were ranked subjectively before yours, and that's then that's then maybe the time when you may contact the session chairs and ask them for some feedback. And so,
but just do it. The only way you're absolutely certain your abstract will not be accepted is if you do not submit it.
Mm-hmm. Very true. The next one is also an interesting question: oral versus interactive presentation, and how to choose the best presentation format for my abstract. So maybe you can summarize first what is an oral presentation, what is an interactive presentation.
Carol.
Oh, you can go ahead on that one because I want the next question.
Okay. Okay. So used to be, traditionally, it was all just oral presentations, traditional scientific paper presentations, but the world has changed. And so we have many new technologies, interactive technologies. And so the IAF has worked very hard to include a new category of interactive presentations. And so, and these are, it's important to say, these are given equal weight. It's not that a traditional paper is more important or more worthy. They're given completely equal importance by the organization. But ultimately, the difference is, do you have an interactive thing that you want to show people? Is it some sort of a new interactive kiosk for teaching satellite remote sensing, or is it something that actually includes some participation with the audience members, or is it does it include some art, some music, or even a dance presentation as a part of it? That's something that you want to put into the interactive format. If it's a traditional paper you can do at a podium with PowerPoint slides, that's something that would be more appropriate for the other. So really it's as much what you're doing, but also how you're going to do it. And if you have literally an interactive activity, something that you want to demonstrate that includes technology, multimedia, even includes the audience, then that's something that would be appropriate for the interactive format.
And there's also the difference on that the interactive presentations are essentially up all week at the IAC. So they are usually presented somewhere in the exhibition hall and on screens that you then can go to throughout the week and pull up. And then there is, I think usually on Wednesday, an event where all interactive authors come and present their particular slide or in short presentation. And So it's a different experience. So it's not definitely not in one room on your own. It's usually in a hall with other people around you presenting other things. So it may seem a little bit more messy than traditional oral presentation, but there's more interaction. Like Scott said, the audience will just be right in front of you, listening to what you're saying. And it's quicker, it's faster paced than a traditional one, and so it's a different experience, and therefore it's up to you how you feel you want to present your subject.
I would like to add that sometimes when the people are choosing the papers for their sessions, they actually look at perhaps what you thought might be a good traditional paper, and they recommend your paper for an interactive session. That has happened several times in the paper selection groups that I've been in. And so you may be surprised to find that your paper is accepted, but it ends up in perhaps a different place than you thought. Yeah. So if you're not sure, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and submit, because the people who are reading them sometimes have a better idea than you do about where your paper would receive the most exposure and the best place, and it might not be what you thought. So don't worry too much about specifying, because that may not be the result. You may be accepted anyway, whether you got in the one you thought you wanted or not.
And if you've never attended the IAC, it's difficult to know, but hopefully you'll be attending in Paris, whether your paper is accepted or not. And once you go and walk through the hall where they have all the interactive things and you see all these things, you'll very quickly get a really good sense about is the environment where I want to present my work for next year, or should it be a traditional presentation?
We still getting a lot of questions here, so I think we should speed up our answers a little bit so that we have in the remaining 20 minutes or so the chance to get most of these addressed. So the next one is here. What are the common mistakes when writing an abstract?
Well, one very common mistake is if you don't proofread your abstract and the English is difficult. That is a common mistake. Some people wait till the last minute. They don't have time, or perhaps they forget to ask a native English speaker to read over their abstract for them. That's one thing. Another thing, I believe, is worrying about detail and perhaps getting stuck in one area and forgetting one of your important points when you're writing the abstract. And that's something that you read through carefully, make sure that you do your outline so that you don't lose your points, and resist the temptation to put more detail than necessary. As Scott has said, as I have said, this is a standalone, and it must be complete enough for the reader to understand what your paper is about, why it is important, and why all of the pieces are in place so that they can get a good idea of what your full paper is going to be.
Yeah, clarity.
Do you have to be a space professional to submit an abstract?
Oh, no. The IAC is a very broad, inclusive community. You don't have to have, there's no requirements for degrees or professional status or anything. If you're interested in space, if you have something to say, the IAC is an excellent venue for everybody.
The next one is also fairly simple. When is the best time to submit an abstract? Many people submitted last minute. Your advice?
Oh, no. When Scott first opened this, he told you, do not wait till the last minute, because you can crash the system. I mean, it has happened before, and then everybody is in a big mess. So do not wait until the last minute, and be sure, again, that you know which time zone you are in versus the time zone in Paris, because that's the time zone that counts. Like in my case, if I had to submit, I would have to submit at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my time, in order to meet the Paris deadline. So don't wait until the last minute. There's no better time, but there really is a bad time, and the bad time is the last minute.
Carol and I've submitted a paper, and we submitted it, 3 weeks ago. So as soon as the thing's open, go ahead. If your abstract is completed, go ahead and get it in.
Also, I know many of the people that go in and read the abstracts beforehand. So not just at the very end, just go in and check what they have so far. So if you want more exposure, if you will, submit it early, and you get in there. So there's no real benefit or detriment, for that matter, to submit it anywhere in the submission time, but there is a too late.
Yeah.
How many words shall I put for my abstract in order to catch the reader's attention?
Okay, this is important. It is not the number of words. You already know you have up to 400. It's what those words say. It's your choice of words. And in your abstract, your opening sentence or two, that should be where you concentrate on making the reader be interested right away. So those first two sentences that introduce your topic are very important, but believe me, it is not the number of words, it is what your words say and how clear and complete you are.
Yeah, but especially since the reviewers will have potentially many abstracts to review, so the more precise and concise your the abstract is, while still catching the gist of your subject, the better. Can you modify your abstract from now until the 28th of February?
Once it's been submitted, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I do not know.
I don't either.
We have staff on with us, so we can ask them to post.
I'm just hearing my imaginary earpiece that yes you can.
Yes, you can, it says.
Okay, excellent. Yes, imagine. I have a real earpiece. I didn't hear it.
I saw it, but I mean that's really a good thing to know, because I did not know that for sure.
Great.
Is there a tradition, a few well-picked citations in the abstract at IAC?
No, do not put citations in your abstract. No citations. It's an abstract. It's not a bibliography. No citations.
What are the key elements of an abstract?
Clarity and completeness. If I'm reading 100 abstracts in a morning, I want to be able to read a well-written, clear abstract that tells me what this is all about. Not the most words, but does it tell a complete story of the work you did and why it's important? Mm-hmm.
So again, you definitely do not need to or should go all the way to 400 words. There may be reasons why you need to, in a very difficult subject matter, need to express it in that length, essentially. But yeah, you should be able to summarize it even in 2 sentences and then elaborate a little bit more, but make sure that the reader knows exactly what you're talking about from the get-go.
And as Patrick said earlier, all of the previous papers submitted and accepted, the previous IACs are on the website. So go back and look at some of the abstracts in your discipline. Legal abstracts are very different from policy abstracts, from astrodynamics abstracts, from remote sensing or satellite telecommunications. We all have our own language, our own way of writing. And so go back and look at a good number of successful abstracts in your field and write your abstract in the tone and language of the community that you are a part of.
Okay, then if the paper depends on research in progress, I may not have the conclusions yet. So how do I manage this in the abstract?
Well, frankly, it should be a completed work. If it's not really ready, maybe it should be for next year. The IAC is not really designed for presentations of work in progress. It should really be something which you have completed. So my suggestion would be, if you really don't have a conclusion and you don't know what that is, maybe it's too early for you to submit for this round.
I agree.
Yeah, or an alternative is that you put that in the abstract. You can also be open about it. So if you say, well, I'm still running this, I don't know, experiment, and I expect results in summer, and I'll plan to just talk about the conclusions. So then it's up to the session chairs to either accept your abstract under these premises or not. But you can try that, and yes.
The other thing too is there have been papers accepted because the research is ongoing and there are some conclusions that can be presented that are valuable, but they're not the final conclusion. And that's another way of looking at it.
So again, my advice would be to go ahead and submit. Go ahead and submit. But I think generally we have so many papers submitted that concluded work is perhaps rated more highly.
And when will we possibly be notified if the abstract is accepted or not?
We notify after the selection at the Paris meetings, and I believe that you're notified quite promptly. And you're notified by the chair of the session that has accepted your paper, but I'm not sure of the deadline.
No, I think that during the spring meetings, all these decisions will be made, and then it's a couple of weeks for it to be finalized in the system, and then I think is it late April?
That would be, well, let's see,
I think that's
the end of March.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks after that, mid to late April.
You would certainly receive it before May.
Okay. Yeah, mid-April is I'm again hearing my earpiece here that mid-April is the target date for submissions. So should the submitted abstract be exactly the same on the final paper? Instead, could it be further concise on the paper?
If you have honed your research, if you have slightly different results or something, sure, you need to present the best that you possibly have. It cannot be a different paper. So you cannot submit and have one abstract accepted and then present a totally different paper. That's not permitted. But if your work was ongoing, when you submitted it, and you finally have some conclusions and they're very exciting or different than you were expecting, certainly that can be included, but you cannot put an abstract in as a placeholder in effect and then give a totally different paper. That's not permitted.
But you can actually, if as we've now said throughout this event, that your abstract should be self-standing and should explain the whole topic. If you want to reduce this down to the general summary for your paper and take a portion of your abstract maybe as your starting point, and then take a portion out for better flow, you can do that. But of course, like Scott said, the content has to be the same.
And remember that your abstract will have a life of its own. The abstract will have its own life. It'll be out there. People will review abstracts to see what papers do I want to read, what's relevant. So just remember that your abstract has its own life and will continue. So you want it to be very clear and well written.
Yeah, and again, you can find all the previous year's abstracts in the IAF digital library. So just go there and research yeah, research your content or your session there, and yeah, then submit a great and winning abstract to the IAC. So I think that's the end of our questions here. So take us to the end.
And I do want to point out that this is just the first in a series of these that we do every year. So we wish you all the very best of luck. Just do it. Submit your abstract. When you are notified that you have been accepted, congratulations. And we will have another webinar coming up in the summer. The date has not yet been chosen, on how to write a winning paper. So once your abstract is submitted, how do you actually write a good paper for the IAC? And so that's a separate subject, and we'll do another hour on that. Then as we get closer to September, we'll do another one on how to actually give your presentation, how to give a good live presentation. We'll talk some about PowerPoint, but we'll also talk just about public speaking aspects of this. And don't forget that there is an optional video that you can submit a video. So do submit a video, but that's another skill set. So we will have another one of these webinars in this series on how to prepare and present a really good quality video. So please check the IAF website, look for the dates of these coming up, and we very much look forward to having you join us and seeing you in Paris. We look forward to seeing all of you in Paris. So that's all. That's what we had to say. Time's up. So if you would please, on Slido, give us your feedback. We very much, Carol and the whole team, all of us, we want to do a good job. We want this to be useful for you. So please, on Slido, give us some feedback. How did you like this? Was it useful? What did you like best about this? How can we improve this? The whole idea is to be useful and helpful to you. So please give us your feedback. We appreciate it very much. And I'll say thank you very much for your time. And I'll turn it over to the others to say goodbye. I'll just say, please come up and say hi to me in Paris, and I'll see you there.
I echo Scott. Thank you very much for being with us. And you've really actually helped us think of some things already to make this a better presentation. So I too hope to see you in Paris. And, please let us know that you're there, especially if your paper is accepted. We want to know that too.
Yeah, again, thanks to Carol Carnett and Scott Madry for presenting this session here today. Yeah, thanks. Take care. See you next time.